Right. Thank you, and everyone, for joining the Internet of Value Foundation New York, episode 103, and the first episode of 2024. Thank you, everyone, for joining so quickly. Shellfish Sugar, 808, dazzling in the fridge. This is going to be a more the sociological based space today, where I really want to touch on the topics above, the mindset that goes into these manifestations of this external actionable states that we see in our reality, and this frequency based aspect that we could look at this reality that we exist inside of from a calculable way to kind of focus our manifestations. And so, welcome everyone to the space. Anybody that wants to come up, please feel free to. Sugar, this is some of your stuff here that I know you like to focus on particularly. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of it. And yeah, welcome everyone. I am making myself some tea as I get prepared to speak in the space today as well. So just getting myself in the Zen moment.
Hello, hello.
Happy New Year, Bet.
Happy New Year, y'all.
Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everyone is well.
How are you doing?
Welcome. Is this your first space of 2024?
It's my first space in 2024 indeed, yeah. Celebrating it with the IOV table here.
Love it. We're focusing on mindset today, game theory, getting ourselves situated for 2024, and then talking about the conceptual realities behind the manifestations of the frequencies in which that we react with in our reality of creation that gets done from so. But thank you though for coming to the space, Vet, and 808 dazzling shellfish for all coming up.
I must say, this is definitely one of my favorite topics that I was exposed to in this last year, and the applications, real world, real life, and cool. I hope we get some new theories instead of just like the marshmallow and prisoner's dilemma. What you have in store for us? Super excited.
Well, game theory being a very, very vast term, as it has something to do with every single actionable state of the incentive based structure of the way that our society interacts, right? And so, from down from the thoughts and maneuvering of the personality that you create to the environment in which that you are interacting in. The game theory is such a significant aspect to the way to think of the complexity, which is also kind of right builds off of complexity science, which is the study of the diverse amount of aspects of different decisions and the tree, the branchial tree that gets formed from those possible decisions that occur from the possible decisions of those decisions that you have made, or each of us as individuals make.
Actually, it's really nice that of all people to join the space today, Mohamed is here, and he is an integral part of the Futureverse system. So I think that's quite interesting that he would be attracted to the frequency of game theory and mindset manifestation episode.
I did send him an invite. He's more than welcome to come up, Mohamed, if you would like to.
Dang it! I thought that was just like a serendipitous coincidence. Fine, you were invited.
Well, it definitely plays a role into the way the advent way of bringing individuals to the new types of technology and interactions in a digital format. Right, game theory is very significant in the means of how do you bring individuals right to to the notion of using the technology. You could talk about, so in some distributed ledger fashions, the game theory behind the XRP ledger was that no incentive is the best incentive, right? I mean, the theology behind that the theoretical game structure is, it benefits you in certain characteristical ways, right? And so it's not necessarily for everyone to just take it upon themselves to benefit from, but if you have a use case behind it, it benefits you. But from a larger aspect of it, right, to the sociological means of the way that we create these manifestations, these external tools, whether it be a computational device or, just the way that we interact with each other, you could think of as a tool-based mindset. This computational universe way to look at this new becoming of what we've built to be the internet. And game theory, right, being so significant. When we sit down and we try and build what we would call a timeline for ourselves, a goal set, and if we look at it from whether it be a monthly goal set to a 5 to 10 to a 20 to 50 to 100-year goal set, the theology of the game theory is extremely important, as you have to assume the game will always change because the only constant is change. And so this putting yourself in this manifestation of mindset to benefit yourself and the efficiencies of the set structure in which you've set those parameters, very, very significant and important to each of us as individuals.
This is something, by the way, really interesting, that especially you mentioned with the philosophy and so on with the XRP ledger. I think more and more this is something you look at it, especially like 10-year plus later, where I find it very, very hard to set a philosophy or standards or design choices that are still relevant like 10 years plus, like if you make something and 10 years plus it's still like around and relevant and makes sense. I mean, that's gotta give definitely credit to that. It's like, wow, okay. Like I hardly make any predictions or philosophies, and if they stick like for more than 6 months, I'm proud of myself. But 10 years plus is like not bad.
No, you're very right. But and in this particular example, the XRP ledger, I would say that the creators of said technology, or the thought of the way that consensus is done in a distributed ledger technology manner, really thought about the game theory, right, of it on a longer time span where the trust of said nodes or bodies of systems communicating on the network is what's potentially more important than the actual incentive to bring the individuals to the network. So yeah,
Game theory, such a vast concept, you know, covers a lot of different parts of our daily lives from its own essence, which is a branch of mathematics and economics that studies interactions between rational decision makers. Well, you don't have to be rational, between decision makers, or however you want to apply game theory too, which has been around for a very long time, that has roots that goes back to the 20th century, but it was not until the 1940s and 50s that it became a distinct field to pursue more knowledge in studies of, like to say, like in Harvard, Yale. They started to really bring that essence of game theory into other applications. Which one of the first ones came out in 1944 with John von Neumann and Oscar Morgenstern. They did work on the foundational game theory for economics and behavior, which is a book that some people should read, because it builds a concept for utility theory, and it laid out the basic principles of strategic interactions between economic contexts in the 1940s now. And then you could fast forward to a lot of the things that we see still yet in play today within different industries, with political science, biology, computer science, social science, so on and so forth. We have all these different aspects that we could look into. Just like one of them, actually, I like to go and kind of how can I say reference game theory from ancient times is Sun Tzu. His ancient Chinese various degrees of knowledge showed how game theory and decision making and actions that when he collected a lot of it, he created a wild book that a lot of us still read today and use a lot of his concepts on to the game of chess. So certain card games, it's crazy. Good stuff though. Love the topics.
No,
Happy New Year's, everybody.
you as well, 808 man, and thank you for coming to the space. It's exactly it. It's this theology that really comes with this situational awareness and this ability to take in this information and produce this timeline based possibilities of plausibilities that could occur from all of this different complexity that is existing inside of these actions. And definitely goes to that precipice, or the sorry, I should say, yeah, that was the precipice that set up the mindset behind complexity science itself, and what led to the dynamics of all of the different types of fields that you had spoken about of study beforehand. But want to welcome up Wolf, Dazzling. You guys haven't gotten a chance to speak yet, really. If you guys would love to jump in, please feel free, either of you.
I just came, but thanks so much for having me up. And happy New Year, everyone. Hope everyone has had a great celebration yesterday.
You as well, Wolf. Thank you very much for coming in. Any thoughts on the topic so far?
No, I did. I just came in. As I said, I wasn't paying too much attention, but I'm happy to listen in and see if I can contribute.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for coming. And we're talking on game theory, and um, really we're just speaking about a little bit more of the origins there of the mindset of what game theory is, where it has emerged from, and the conceptuality behind how we can utilize this sociological structure, this principle structure, values, and use this the parameters of a game theory and set up what we would want to create as these external manifestations, as I like to term it, right? Thinking of in frequencies, and the universe as a computational universe, set ourselves up to have the best and most efficient outcome for ourselves based off of the theories that we've set inside of this parameters of game. And with that, creating the best outcome for all of us as not only individuals but as a collective. And this term I've heard talked about plenty on my online experience, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. And so very, very cool to be able to be on with so many cool people and speak about these concepts where I think as us, especially on X itself, and on social media, being this very small percentage of the population that is part of what will be that large change that then the rest of the population then gets to take hold of and participate in.
That's why we we apply game theory principles every day. Every day. A lot of us don't realize it, but we do this every day. Such as when we reevaluate ourselves, self-reflection, we to ourselves define our goals, and our preferences very clearly to ourselves. And we also how do we think and consider how do we apply these things, or how do we apply our different options we have, or what actions are we going to take, whether it's a short term or long term, to either anticipate challenges, prepare ourselves for later challenges, or strategizing whether how we're gonna solve a problem, or how we're gonna do to like time management, our own decision making of what we do every day. In particular, within this space where we usually are with projects and technology that deals with our own personal finances, we literally do this every day as well, not just within when we wake up and all of that, which is crazy because we already apply game theory at the most basicest level. And when we focus and change our mindsets to manage ourselves even better and use, you know, places and examples and references that can help build our own foundation better, we are applying game theory on all different levels, which is wild, right?
Exactly, man. And even as simple as the unconscious waking up and going over to brush your teeth, the theory behind that situational aspect of that actionable state before you knew to wake up and go to brush your teeth, right, as you were obviously right as a child or a teenager, whenever as we you kind of solidified that action for yourself becoming an unconscious action. That was the theory behind you don't want to lose your teeth, right? And so it's like every single action we make has some sort of theological game aspect behind the reason that it exists in the particular manner in which it does exist. You know, the streets, the way that the streets and the directionals of the street exist, the lights, the stores, the lights that exist inside of the stores, the colors, all of these things playing such dynamic essence, theological aspects of our game theory and the mindsets, the frequencies that it helps put us into to manifest the actions that have the appropriate outcome.
Ain't it wild though? But I'm gonna speak after Dazzlin and KJ. They have their hands up.
So
Thank you.
I'm kind of wondering how do you propose the transfer of energy of that thought, right? So like if I line up some dominoes, I flick one, that transfer of energy goes through until it stops, right? But how, there's a physical force that's moving there, right? With that domino effect, right? That ripple effect. But how would you propose the energy of your thought moves from your mind to making other things possible or happen?
So you're thinking about our mind making our bodies move physically to make that action possible, or just our mind making enough strong energy to just move it, or in a sense, like are you talking about like telekinesis or
No,
Yeah,
what was that?
no,
kind of.
I think.
Yeah,
Oh, were you? Sorry. Go ahead.
kind of yeah, sitting well, that's the question. Do you need to um push yourself physically in this physical universe to make those manifestations come true, or can you use the energy of your thought to make these things possible?
You go ahead, but it's a really tricky question, because we are already managing our thoughts to make something possible physically by already thinking these processes already is happening. And even in our subconscious mind, it is already happening to where it's already seeing it move without even it moving yet, but it's telling our body to make the actions to support that movement that's going to happen, which is wild. But yeah, they have other people hands up, but I love that question because it's making me think even more.
Yeah, and it depends on how far you took it from an internal manifestation to an external manifestation, from an actionable state physically changing in our reality. I think you then talk from a collective aspect, and so I really do think that that plays a dynamic role in what maybe we can render as part of what from an aspect of the external reality, but from an internal aspect, this is something where you have the tool sets that you could use as far as yoga, meditation, quiet time, the thought of relaying the structural principles inside of the mind as the thoughts, which can lay a foundational base for you then to have future actionable states in the sense of a reaction from a situation that would occur that you may have had a different reaction to if you hadn't set those foundational steps to be prepared for the reaction that occurred. And so, you setting those prior steps is the reason that you had that particular reaction prior to another reaction. And with that, KJ, man, welcome up. And then G, welcome to see you in the space as well.
Happy New Year. Great conversation. I kind of wanted to piggyback off of Dazzling's, I don't know, I'm going to call it an observation because when we think about game theory, I think about how we as the collective have become much more challenging to theorize or direct, and specifically just this medium that we're in together, I think it creates a hub and amplifies the foundation of what you spoke about before, and maybe kind of touching on Dazzling's, you know, call it a creating a possibility or an intention as an individual, and then we group together in places like this, and I think a lot of those latent thoughts are very much activated, and we become like this divergent group that then the simulation or the game theorists have to account for a new strategy to deal with that, again, divergent herd breaking apart from the masses. So I guess the observation I had is that game theory is having to evolve, and that because of those of us in groups like this that are seekers of truth, we're paying attention, we're observing, we're using our emotions maybe more as a guidance system instead of using it as a way to be controlled. I think we're forming game theory and responding to it. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how people still trying to kind of herd the masses are going to move forward when you have those of us able to gather and share ideas like this. So great space. Happy New Year. Looking forward to 2024.
Thank you very much, KJ, for coming up and sharing that. G man, welcome to the space. Please feel free to speak.
Hey, how's it going? Happy New Year to all of you. I love spaces like this. This is just the greatest. It's fantastic. It's getting people to, really work on their elasticity, right? On their making their brains a little bit more elastic. It's really trying to figure out like we move through this world in a way where we perceive things as staying relatively the same. Like we kind of crave routine, right? In general, it's like I'm in a routine. I'm in a groove. I'm feeling pretty good about my life and all that. And with DLT and all this new tech and the metaverse, all of that stuff is going to create an entirely new realm of possibilities in terms of taking people who have been convinced that they're NPCs, right? We've been convinced that we're a non-playing character, that we just have this routine that we've been programmed. I go to work, I come home, I eat the same thing. I watch Netflix, I go back to bed, I do the same thing. I take a shower, and so it's just like there's really no variety in my life. I just keep doing the same thing over and over again. I kind of like that routine or whatever. People kind of get into that deal, and systemically, the value, the invaluable value that we add to the world in terms of the fruit of our labor, right? It's the end result of the sun hitting the green thing. You eat the green thing. It's tokenized sunshine, sugar, whatever. It becomes becomes the cells, the whatever, the energy that powers the human energy vehicle. You're the consciousness that controls the human energy vehicle, right? So we're moving through this space, and then as soon as we have a creative output, it is seized systemically. And so it's just like, okay, well, we get paid every 2 weeks. Well, do you get a check? Do you get gold? Do you get cash? Do you get seashells? Do you get like what form of value do you get? Well, you get a direct deposit that goes right into your bank account, and you're separated from the fruit of your labor. The banks then use it to leverage that creativity that you've had, and they put it into some creative action where they use it as collateral for providing loans to other individuals. And so now you're separated from that. You're separated from your creative output. So it's really, I think we're at a crossroads right now. It's a watershed moment in reality where we're waking up to, the matrix, right, that we're living in, that we're being extracted, and that we're moving from an extractive form of our reality has been constructed for us, that now when you talk about game theory and playing a game, right, that would presume that you're a player, right? So at this point, we've been a non-playing character by design because it's been designed for us. Whatever conspiracy, brotherhood, secret society, Freemason, Illuminati, blah, 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 deep state, blah, 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 blah. There have been forces at play that have been doing what they can to harness our life force so that they can stay in power and be powerful and just have all these energetic characters powering them. So where do we go from here? The exciting thing about what I see about XRPL and other blockchains, the ecosystem of blockchains that are going to be connected via interledger protocol and this and that and all these smart contracts, is that once we have, if identity, and I've said this in a million times, if identity is done right, if SSIDs are done correctly, and we have maximum liberty with maximum control over the information that we have over our identity, that we can choose how and where and when it's shared or sold or whatever, we can possibly live into a world where human creativity, which was previously untapped by design, because it's like, think of it as like tributaries of value that have been controlled and directed, and we have just been like these water molecules in these tributaries that have just been routed for the purpose of making other people who are wealthy even wealthier. Now you have the ability to, instead of being an NPC who's sitting in the back seat, not driving, you have no control over anything. Now with smart contracts, with gamification of everything possibly, we can now level up. So now you can level up in everything, starting from education, starting from, how just even the one thing, and I've said this many times in other spaces, is that if you transform how we teach kids and you introduce game theory into education and gamifying education, where you incentivize kids teaching kids, and so you learn a skill, and it's the same thing in martial arts, right? So you learn a skill, you teach it to a peer, and eventually you progress, you become like a student teacher, and then eventually a teacher, and so on. But if you started doing that with children and you incentivize them to say, hey, if you are success, you're a great sharer. Like, you share things, you help other people level up. And that becomes part of the culture, part of the ethos. And then if you did that, can you imagine if everybody who was in it was taking part in this incentivized kind of education process, that they were incentivized to level up, that they got bonuses, that they got other people, superpowers, they got other people helping them. Let's say you're really good at writing and reading, and then you're just kind of about math. And someone up above, you're like helping all these other kids learn how to read, learn how to write, maybe with some penmanship or whatever it is. And then you've earned credits so that other kids above you, in terms of their skill level, would help you level up and round out. And it's just kind of almost like a Navy SEALs kind of thing of just every kid trying to figure out how they can help some other kid. If we grew up that way, our entire reality would change across the board, worldwide. It would just completely transform. And so, sitting there and thinking, well, what can I do, with this kind of perceived sense of like, I'm not really in control of things. I would say, look to the technology, because the tech is available, and as it's being adopted, it's just what invitation are we going to invite humanity into the possibility of transforming in terms of the reality that we want to see. And it all starts with that, so we can set an intention, take an action, and let go. Those are only three things you control. So if you set an intention to invite people into a possibility of creating a sense of a global community by helping every kid reach their maximum potential, a kid who reaches his maximum potential is going to be on a trajectory to reach his maximum or her maximum potential as an adult. So it's exciting time. You know, we've never had this ability before because we've been living in these walled gardens of toll bridges and gates and you know, gated privilege that we're granted if we, you know, pay a price to get in for admission, and never really truly feeling like we're in control of our fate because we're constantly running in a squirrel cage. And once we get through that squirrel cage, we're in another one. You get a raise, and it's like you live in a house with a higher mortgage and a higher car payment and a higher this and a higher that. You're still running in a squirrel cage, just like the guy who's making, you know, $20 an hour. You're doing the same thing. You're both trapped. So I think it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. 2024, super optimistic. I'll yield the floor.
Thank you very much, G, and I couldn't agree more with the majority of what you said. You know, it's even going back just 200 years, right? I mean, the typical individual didn't even have a book or know how to read unless they were, you know, of some sort of higher class in a monetary value perspective, right? Or a noble of society. And so today, with the way that we have the distribution and the distributed manner of not only information but value itself, yeah, I think this is the most pristine time that we've at least had in our historical context to be alive. And 808, man, please feel free to jump in.
I kind of forgot what I was gonna go about, but KJ and SG, man, you guys brought up so much good points. I like how you explained of how, it is importance as just not just as individuals or a nation, but as just people in general, how we cultivate our young to learn and build their foundation better than how we had our own. Just that mindset. And like how you explained, martial arts and using that as a way, because I'm a martial artist myself, started when I was like 3 4 years old, grew up into it. And it's always pushed that it's best when you teach kids at a young age, because why? They're still developing. And when you teach them the skills and your experience that you gained from, not from just yourself and your life experience, but from people who passed on their knowledge from you, from them to you, and then goes dates back and back, just that generational learning of always teaching the younger to be better than what we do today. And it's kind of crazy to see how, our education system was built to kind of defer that in a sense to a certain demographic of focus. A lot of our focus before, like, if within my own culture, I'll be looked at as adolescent within my own mind because I don't have that foundational knowledge that my ancestors had, which they could fucking literally step outside of the door of where they live, look up into the sky, and read the stars. And just by reading the stars, they were able to break down where they're at in the time of the month or the time of the year, what the tides were down in the ocean if they needed to go to the ocean, what plants to plant, what was the breeding ground for different animals, how to survive naturally. They understood the difference between the power of the moon and the tides we have, you know, and they understood that to the point where we are still using technology to figure out a lot of these things today. And they passed on that knowledge to their kids and then their kids' kids and their kids' kids until what happened within our history of our civilizations, not just within my own culture around the world. The the preference of teaching and how knowledge is being taught and passed down is very centralized and not how it was, if you like, how you go back hundreds of years and so on and so forth. It's kind of crazy how the push of the indigenous minds around the world were looked at as differently than what was Western ideologies was bringing out. And it's crazy because it sets a generational mindset in the people that is being taught to continually think that it's okay being complacent in what they're doing every day because that's what they're being taught. you know and like, they're a person's own aha moment is like their wake up of becoming a non-player character to being a player character. When they start to realize, like, hey, I don't have to do these things this way. There's better things that I can do to build myself, to teach myself to how to do certain things or just better myself. And I like how KJ and you guys brought, like even within these spaces, our own collective minds build us a better mindset to kind of understand different things from different perspectives from all over the world. We all live different parts of this world, some closer than others, some super far away, but we all live in different parts of the world, and that's the beauty because we have different lifestyles, different thought processes, different algorithms on how we see things. And by being able to share a lot of our thoughts, we are in a process of gamifying our own way of doing things, which is also in a form of quantum entanglement, where some of your guys' ideas affects mine and I affect yours, and how we talk and so on and so forth. Ain't that wild? That even our ancestors in ancient times understand these concepts with these people put monstrous titles in front of, but they understood it at a basic level to where it affected them every day, and we still do it today. It's good stuff. I love the spaces though. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dad.
No, thank you for coming. And just like you said, 808, I mean, it's so almost surreal when you look back to think that we have such historical context to such similar concepts, and identities behind these aspects of the reality that we have, just so come upon in our collective as a species, that we're starting to realize the ability to interact with. And right, going all the way back to uh, the technology itself. I mean, right, Aristotle coining the term technologio, and um, it's right, just a term to explain a more efficient tool, or art, right, that we've created, to make it more beneficial for our existence. And so it's so yeah, it's so
You know
cool.
what's wild about what technology is proving right now about our history as just a civilization, like how you're speaking of Aristotle, how we're speaking about all these different Greek philosophers, is that there's much older history value that has been lost. Just like, okay, like how a lot of philosophers and scholars used to think that the Mayan and Aztec knowledge of astrology and astronomy, they're the ones created it, but they refer to an older civilization than them that we don't even know the name of. We just know that they're referred to as the Olmec people, the Olmec civilization, who had left their knowledge and foundation that the Mayans and Aztecs picked up. Wild, right? That's some wild shit that there's still yet history out there that we don't even know. But then we are using technology today, like how I was sharing, like how we use LiDAR and that technology to kind of help us with what we do projects here in Hawaii and other technology of what our ancestors understood then. Crazy. And it's proving that their foundational knowledge is something that needs to be re-referenced back to kind of peel back a lot of the things that has been covered up to remind us as people is we have this knowledge out there already. It's just that we need to collectively bring all this knowledge together into a place where we all can use and build a better understanding of the world around us, because a lot of us are more in a terms of like a secluded way of thinking, our walls around the way we're thinking of where we're at in our own space, but not thinking about just because the actions and decisions we make in our own space only affects us. It doesn't. Our own actions that we do within our own space also affects the collective as a whole, which brings into the interconnectedness we have amongst each other when we share things and go about our daily lives, whether we don't think of it or not. Crazy.
Yeah, I know. Even recently, there was some studies that were shown to show that PEMDAS, right, Pythagorean theorem, was was shown on some Sumerian tablets, and so the concept of PEMDAS existing even before Pythagoras himself. Shellfish, please go ahead.
808, I'm so glad you brought up like the astrological nodes and like the historical data that was lost, because this kind of brings me to like what I had sent you the other day as far as the astrological charts and the relation to them and the stars, and how when we're born, we have the stars, which are nodes in the sky, right? And we're looking to find a perfect balance between nodes, or satellites around the planet, interconnecting, feeding information back and forth. And I don't know if you guys have ever looked at your charts. My nodal system is so heavily weighted on one side, and I just find it fascinating to think of the possibilities of balancing out those nodal systems inside my personality, in reflection to as above, so below type of mentality. And either having an AI do that, or having an actual person or people to balance out those within each other, and how that would be reflected in the system. I think that's kind of something that would be really cool to look into.
That's really
Can I
I was
shoot
going to
in?
say that's so fascinating. That is so fascinating. I haven't even given that aspect of thought. Like, if you are saying, I'm not as well rounded as I'd like to be, could some representation of me, a doppelganger, another version of me, somehow show me the skills in my physical reality that I could somehow become a more well rounded being, whether it's through guided meditation or prompting or paraphrasing, or somehow helping me to integrate some learning that is just uh, filling in what would be perceived as somewhat of an imbalance or a deficit. That's fantastic. I love that. That just, like, I don't know why it took so long for me to get there, but thank you for lighting that up, because that's beautiful. Just think of psychotherapy and any kind of therapy and psychology, psychiatry, and oh my God, you can, AI could totally customize it, for you. Say, okay, here's where you're at. Here's what you say you want out of life. These are the things that, we're seeing, or this entity is seeing, the singularity, whatever it might be. Oh my God, that's fantastic. That's great.
Exactly it, Gary. It's the opposite to relative to you being social engineered, right? Which is a very large aspect of the game theory behind the incentive based structure of today, where your identity may have been obfuscated in some aspects without you realizing, through the awareness of the subjectivity of the environment, and then you being able to have a tool set that says, okay, let's take these parameters, let's take my identity, let's create an agent in this particular instance, right? And give me the example tree that I need to be able to make the decisions that will create the outcome and identity that I want to choose to be, and giving the power back to the individual.
And I wouldn't say that I'm, because I know that shellfish is probably a little bit more along the transhumanist kind of line of thinking, than I would consider myself to be. But I do see the flaws and the limited capacity that parents have to help their children maximize their potential, because they haven't maximized their potential, right? Being just in the systems that we've been in, and it's just all the history of abuse and just communication techniques that have been passed down from generation to generation. We have the capacity to break all of those really just terrible habits, and the kind of the nurture side, of the evolution, or I don't know, manifestation kind of piece, that we can break those patterns by being open to all possibilities rather than just the limited ones that your parents might have.
Well said. And just gonna roll over to Mometa, man. Welcome up. Please feel free to jump in, and we'll go to Shellfish and 808, and then back to G if you would like to jump back in, G.
Happy New Year, everyone. Great room, great conversation. Nice to see everybody. Yeah, I love this conversation too. A couple of things that people have often wondered why I embraced so much was replication, but most importantly would be expendability. I've relished expendability to make myself expendable in any role that I'm currently in, whether I'm being self-employed or whatever else it might be, purely because the only way to move forward is to make yourself expendable. If you are the only one who can do what you do and you do it incredibly well, you tend to hold on to that. And in doing so, you hold yourself back. When I'm working with teams, I try and educate them to understand that they're great at what they do, but by teaching others to also be great at it isn't going to make yourself expendable. It's going to give me the ability to move you forward. Because if you're the best at what you do, I'm going to keep you right where you are because you're holding on to all this information. You're not sharing it with others. I'm moving people past you to take on other roles above you. But if you can show to me that you can take all that information that you have harnessed and you can teach that to others who are coming up beneath you, then one, they move forward. I can then trust two people to do the one job that you were doing, and I can then move you forward as well. And we keep moving forward in this way. But first of all, you have to be willing to be expendable. And that's not easy for people. But also in replicating what you have to offer to others, you reinforce your learning by teaching it to others. And you build those connections to those people that you're teaching it to, and they will look to you moving forward, and you work as a really good team. So for me, expendability and replication are two key areas that are often overlooked. And as AI begins to make us expendable in certain areas, we need to embrace it. We need to look at that as a way to say, it didn't just make us expendable, it made everyone in that area expendable. So now free up that time to learn new skills and keep moving forward.
So I just want to jump in, Mometa, because I think you're right over the target, and rather than looking at it from a standpoint of being virtuous, right? I'm expendable, and what if you incentivized your like planned obsolescence, that you're planning your own expendability by incentivizing your expendability. So if I teach this person a skill and that person a skill, and that person benefits from the skill that I teach them, and that via a smart contract they add value, and then I get a cut of whatever value that they put in as an exchange for the value that I gave them. So if I taught somebody a great skill and they're making something out of that, so to pay for that, to just uh, have that as maybe an alternative source of income, maybe continuing income for X period of time based on some smart contract or some kind of thing like that.
Yeah,
So you could incentivize it and say, hey, I've got all these people that are quote working for me or using the skill that I gave them, adding creative output to the planet, and I'm being rewarded for giving them that skill.
that's exactly what I'm talking about, because a lot of
Yeah.
people in this room know that, I start homeschooling this year with my kids, and I will be looking to teachers out there looking for extra income who have the ability to take those skills that they've got and who can really refine them, and then in a way be able to share them through these new media platforms where I can use what I want to take from it and share that with my children as I homeschool them. At the same way, they can be financially, rewarded through smart contracts and tokenization and the different revenue models we have coming forward and the different platforms we have coming forward, where people can take something they already have as a skill that's been held back by previous systems and be able to take that and utilize it, share it, and benefit others with it. So definitely, that is exactly what I'm talking about, Gary.
I love that synchronization, and going to the one of the topics above, manifestations, right? This interesting notion of what happens in these spaces when we get this conversation flowing in this manifestation of synchronized thoughts. And it's really just I love it, and I thank everyone for coming to the space. But jump over back to you, 808, man. Please feel free to jump in, and I'll probably keep it going for another 15-20 minutes or so. So if anybody in the audience has any thoughts, please feel free to type it in the comments at the bottom right. I'll give it a double check, and or hit the request to come up and speak.
I thought Shell was had her. Didn't you have your hand up, Shell?
I did, but I feel like I'm not going to contribute to the flow right now. So please, by all means, jump in 808.
I totally forgot what flow I was flowing with, and then yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead, Shellfish. Change the topic.
Well, I don't know why this why this topic came up for me, but I know this has been coming up in a lot of the spaces that I've been going into lately, and it's the amplitahedron. And I was just kind of glancing through it, and nobody even said it in here, but for some reason it kept getting triggered in my brain. So I didn't know if you would be able to elaborate any more on it, or if you could kind of go into that. But if not, we can save it for another day this week.
What did you say? I didn't quite get what you were referring to.
Amplitahedron is a vector of geometrical shape in a subspace. And it's really trying to describe the properties in which interactions occur inside of this subspace. It's just a different. It is one of many quantum mechanical theory um, theorems. Sorry.
By the way, I still have to get used to G's profile picture. It's like, who's this guy? No, just kidding. I didn't kick ya.
I just thought I'd mix it up a little bit. It's just you've been looking at my face with the waterfall behind it for the longest time. Figured I might as well mix it up. And I think 2024 is going to be one of these things where it's just like it's just an intuition thing, right? I think it's a Jenga year. I think we're going to have lots of transformative things, kinetic activity, sky is falling kind of stuff. But
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
it's
so
like quite an apocalyptic scene behind you.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Dinosaurs had their season, and let's just hope that that's the same for like the deep state, the controllers, the riggers, the manipulators, the whatever, the anointed ones, right, that have basically been enslaving the planet. Let's create a new set of mechanisms that enable people to realize their potential and free themselves from this
And what
really
you
just
drinking
crappy.
there? Is it Sonic?
Adrenochrome.
Okay.
Anyway, go ahead. In fact, thanks for bringing that up. I actually have to bolt, but I just wanted to thank Shellfish too. We've had kind of some. I don't. It's not antithetical, but it's just it's like the kind of this transhumanist thing with this very interesting dynamic that's going on, and I'm finding myself being more and more open to the possibilities of technology. But it's guarded optimism, I guess. So it's a baby steps, right? So I just because I know we're at the thing that just gives me pause is I know we're at a tipping point right now that we could tip into this just terrible new panopticon observation state where a few entities have maximum power. And if this thing goes the wrong way, or if it's open and we have very solid SSID tech and people can maintain control of their own IDs. I'm a little bit more positive and optimistic about it, but the jury's still out. So we just have to stay alert, stay awake, and really be aware of the turns and the twists that we're going to take in 2024 and going forward.
Hey, G, be very careful, because what Schrodinger said, right? Curiosity may or may not have killed the cat.
Exactly. I know, right? It's a paradox.
Well, Einstein also does say the knowledge is useless without imagination.
Yeah, and it's just the thing that gives me pause is the imagination of the sociopaths and the psychopaths that are drawn to power, magnetically drawn to power, and so many of the people who would be great leaders don't want to partake in it because of the shitty people that are in
Sorry, man.
power. Because I just don't want to deal with the bullshit from the people who are actually in control, because I know it's going to be like playing Survivor every single day, and everybody's got a knife out and they're extending one hand for a handshake and a smile, and the other hand is behind their back with a dagger, right? It's just like the kind of quote normal person doesn't want to deal with that shit. They don't want to deal with getting backstabbed or having to kill or be killed every single freaking day as just a part of, like, whatever. Hey, I'm just going to work. And it's just like, that he wants to take you down, and it's a power move, and he's controlling, he's gonna filibuster you're this, and then he's gonna do a wrap up smear and bring up the thing, when you were hugging that girl. Yeah, she was
What the
17. She
fuck?
was a supporter of and it's just like, fucking God.
Yeah,
Who wants that? Who
SB,
wants to be around that?
sorry to interrupt, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're on the right track, I guess, for me. And I guess people would say it's all perception, man. But I want to say, like, nothing changes without action, and we have to take the risk of taking action and losing everything, and unfortunately, that's what usually happens to make the grand change. Because, like, when is it? When is there, dude? Like, I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, Death, but I'm not even gonna make this about anything, and I apologize if the past I've hurt you guys' feelings. But I just want to say, like, I mean, there's nothing changes without action, and you have to take that risk, basically, and you have to tell some truths, and even though if it hurts you, and it has hurt me for telling the truth, I guess, or my truths, I believe, and I don't regret it. That's the thing.
Yep.
Well, relative
Go
relative
ahead.
to what you had both, I guess, touched on more so, I guess, G, because I don't really understand that. But
Yeah, that's
you
fine.
know, you make this like a really great example of why this open this open distributed system of transferring of information, the internet the way it is today, is so much more powerful to the construct of our society. 200 years ago, I was a noble. I could pay somebody some gold on the side. Somebody went into your house, cut your head off. Nobody ever knew what happened, right? But today, there's like this trail even of just information transfer that occurred. And so as we get deeper into it, just like you said with the SSI and this digital identity and everything, right, being executable in an actionable state digitally and having this trace to it, yeah, I think that really it brings us towards that world where it's really not going to be acceptable anymore, because the obfuscation of that information existing won't be possible, right? It'll be
And we have the possibility to turn the panopticon on the folks who are governing, right? We have the ability through this technology. It's the same kind of thing that we fear for us, and I say us in quotes, for the people who are being governed, that we can turn that tech on the governed. So let's say you take like what's happened in Palau, right? So Palau has a stable coin, and it's minted on XRPL. It's an issued asset. If you had every state in the union that had their own stable coin that was issued on a public blockchain, or on, let's just say, on XRPL, and using Palau as an example, that all of the value going into the state, it could be tracked and traced and seen, and then it's not, you know, people are going to say, well, what about secrets? We got to have secret this and secret that. And it's like, no, you don't. What do you do in a state that has to do with, like, we have to have some secrets? It's like, no, you don't. You're plowing roads. You're whatever. You're teaching kids. You're, taking care of parks. Whatever. It's just like there's nothing that you need to do that needs to be behind some sort of veil of secrecy. So if you had total transparency, then you would be able to see, as a taxpayer, where the hell the money's going and who's approving it and what it's being spent on. So then you could have a DApp that would say, hey, I want to know if the person who's representing me is wasting money on a bunch of garbage that's not aligned with my values. Then all of a sudden I get this readout, this printout of like, it's a heat map of green, green, red, green, whatever, and it's just like, okay, God, this guy's really aligned with me. I'm going to keep our gal or whatever. I'm going to keep voting for her or for him. Or this dude's a total asshat and he's voting for things that have nothing to do with what
SG,
I'm
aren't we
interested in,
always
and I'm going to vote
voting
him
for the
out.
same crap and we think we're voting for change? And they want us to rat on each other, the retail, the small fry, the small business, and while they get to like get away scot free, we gotta get pay for the punishment. We gotta pay for all this crap where they throw our tax paying money to other countries and all that crap. I thought when I get old, maybe I have Social Security, but I won't.
Mhm. But exactly. So what I'm saying is like with this, you could have maximum transparency. So all of this stuff of like, hey, I'm gonna send some money over there, and then I'm gonna get a kickback, and then this is gonna be great because then I get to vote for this, and then this I'll be able to stay in power, and they'll contribute to my campaign, and we can use this tech to say, okay, you want campaign finance reform, put it all on the fucking blockchain. I
You
want to
said
see. I
something
want to
very
see who's funding you.
important.
Exactly.
You
And
said
I
something
just
very
sorry, anyway, I just wanted to say I try and keep it PG. So if we could try not to
Oh,
have any
sorry.
cursing or anything, it's
Someone
okay, Joe.
cussed.
Because the conversation was very important, and the point you made, G, was very important because it's where I think we're going for
You
sure.
mean numbskull?
But
We kept the
808,
conversation numbskull because
um,
nobody cussed.
I did.
yeah, G did. But
I did.
I don't want to be rude to Shellfish. I think her hand's gonna fall
Yeah,
off.
Shellfish had
I'll put
her.
$1 in the swear jar.
You're the best. Thank you very much, Jay. Shellfish, please feel free to jump in though. 808, and then G, if you would like to, after 808, please feel free to jump back in.
I know that you said that you were going to close up the space, so I was just going to ask you what your projections were or your intentions were for this space in 2024. What we have to look forward to learning this year, and putting out the good vibrations and manifestations towards what we all came here for, and yeah, like let's set the tone for the year, right?
Yeah, and I think 2024 is going to be a big year of application integration, right? APIs being connected with other APIs, and us using the tool sets of things like large language models to be the interaction tool between these closed networks, right? As of today, right? You think of applications, there's less than 2% of the applications that exist in the world today really have an ability to communicate with themselves. Your Chase app and your whatever it be, your YouTube app and your X app, and right, whatever it may be, if it's in different industry or market type. I mean, none of these apps have any ability to really communicate with yourself, and so, I think you think of these artificial intelligence. As much as I don't really particularly enjoy the term, but large language models in particular, the tool set, that concept, being able to be integrated into devices and kind of starting to play this agent role that'll be able to eventually teach us to do this bridging of networks. As I think the 2000s, the early 2000s, is the networking age of our species, and this is really this vast array of systematic properties and sequences that we've set up through these synthetic forms of electromagnetic frequencies, and the concept of, right, microchips and data centers and computational systems. And we're finally gonna start merging it all together in the next five or so years. And on top of that, you have quantum computation, but that's more of a separate discussion to at least these factors we've spoken about today, and the utilization of these particular tools and different exampled sociological and actionable states, in particular for our society today, and the incentive based structure and the way that we all interact with each other. But yeah, I thank you, Shellfish, for bringing me there as a closing. Is any 808, if you want to, man? I know you had a thought. If you want to close it up, we can close it right after your thought.
I would just say, this was actually just for Shellfish because she was talking about astrological figures and stuff like that. But this can go for everybody. Take the time of your birth. So the time and date of your birth, and look what was in your astrological figures in your sky of where you were at that time. Because what you are looking at the time of your day and birth, where you were birth, there's astrological star figures that was in your skies while at the time of that, which could also reveal more about yourself and all these different cosmic events that happens around there in this time. And also there's a big one happening in January where Mercury will be the first planet to be seen before the sun rises, which is another big one that resembles a lot of different things depending on who reads them. And I like how G explained about, at the level where we need transparency, immutability, and all that blockchain and cryptography offers as the technology. But what we see in the media is not the talks of the what the technology provides, but what the cryptocurrency does with bad actors and how they use the technology for bad acting. And we all see that. Well, I can't
Yeah,
say
a lot of
talk
bad
for
acting.
everyone, you know. It is, and blockchain, as we know already within our own states, especially where I live, the advantage that a lot of these people who, one, provides the foundational services that we use every day, such as electricity, water, bus routes, senators that who represent us, and all these guys, we pay taxes to. Where does these companies get their grants that's supposed to be maintaining the infrastructures that's supposed to make their job and what they provide to us that we pay for efficient? All of that on the blockchain should be on there. All these government grants they get is from our taxes that we pay to help maintain those foundations. And also all these ones that sit on top of those seats that represents their constituents. It doesn't matter if you're in the US, Russia, China, Japan. At the most basic infrastructure level, we need that to be able to, you know, it's just something that's morally correct and basically should have been done from the very beginning. But you know how a lot of these systems are built to kind of control and a lot of these different things. And yeah, have a good day, everybody.
Thank you very much, 808, and you're so right, man. So looking forward to seeing these changes occur and in our species sociologically and actionably. Dazzling, man, please feel free.
Just wanted to say, dude, what a ripper space to kick off the year with. So I'm looking forward to more, man. This is awesome. And sorry I didn't contribute as much, but yeah, it's nice.
No, don't be sorry at all, and I appreciate you and everyone who came to the space today, whether you were a listener or a speaker. But I really this is it is because of you guys that these spaces exist, right? All of us as a collective, and not even today, but these audio files that could be looked back at as something historical of context 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, 2,500 years from now, something of the sorts, right? Where it shows the context of the properties of the way that the structure is in society, and just us looking back at to the way that the Romans interacted with each other and all of the different civilizations. It's so important to have that context, and so we are creating that context today as our interactions occur, and I also enjoy all of the information everyone brings. So
Can
keep it
can I just say
going.
for the record, for the
Uh,
children of tomorrow who are listening in the year 2000, whatever, 800, I just want to say that I appreciate you letting me up. Although we may have our differences, I think kids in year 2800, like, we have to learn from this, and that we can still talk and debate and not have to agree 100%. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Meta. I agree. They're actually the best discussion you can have is a discussion where people have difference of opinions but are able to have the discussions where the most diverse amount of information is typically discussed. But on that note, love you all. I hope everyone has a great rest of the night. We'll see if I pick up the space tomorrow. Tomorrow might be a very busy day for myself, but we'll be back either way, either tomorrow or Thursday. And look forward to seeing you guys later on this week. Not everybody.